G'day lads, this video will explain how to take football standings and then transform it into a predicative model with expected goals and win probabilities using the Poisson distribution in Excel. Lads, if you're interested in delving deeper into sports modeling or you're seeking some personalized guidance, feel free to reach out to me via email or Twitter DMs to inquire about some paid one-on-one Zoom coaching sessions that I offer. They're incredibly successful and in hot demand right now, so you can email me at lads.excel@gmail.com or you can message me on Twitter where my handle is excel_lads. Alright lads, so the first step in making a Poisson model to predict matches is to get your league's standings and then grab each team's attack and defense ratings from this. To do this, we're going to first find the average goals scored by a team in a game played, and the formula for this is the sum of the goals for divided by the sum of the matches played, C2 to C21. When we press enter and reduce this figure to 2 decimal points, we can see that on average a team scores 1.42 goals a game in this competition. Next, I'm going to create two new columns called ATT rating, which is going to list every team's attack rating under it, and DEF rating, which is going to list every team's defense rating under it. First, we'll derive Manchester City's attack rating by dividing their goals for by their matches played. And then once we do that, we'll put this in brackets and divide this total figure by the league average for goals scored in a game, which is down here in cell G23. Hit enter and you'll get 1.84, but we're not done yet because we want to be able to drag this across and down for every team. So I'm going to absolute reference G23 so it doesn't move. Shortcut for that is Command T if you're on Mac. So put the $ in front of the row and column. And then for the matches played, I want this to move up and down because not all the time is a team going to have 35 matches played. You can see Brighton only have 34, so the figure will change. We're going to just absolute reference the column. So $ in front of the C, and now we're able to drag across and down to get Manchester City and the rest of the team's attack and defense ratings. Alright, so now to interpret these ratings, Manchester City's attack rating of 1.85 means that they score on average 1.85 more goals in a game than the average team. So 1.85 goals for every 1 goal scored by the league average team. Their defense rating of 0.62 means they concede only 0.62 goals for every 1 goal conceded by the league average team. Obviously, when looking at the other clubs and the formula in general, an attack rating of over 1 is good, whereas a defense rating of over 1 is bad because you want to concede less goals than the average team. Therefore, defense rating of under 1 is good. Now lads, we're going to quickly name some ranges so that it'll be easier for us to reference them later on in formulas. Our first range we're going to name is going to be the list of teams, and I'll just go up to the top left box over here and name it teams. Press enter and now our range has been named. So next I'm going to name the league average goals just average. Do it again in the top left hand box over there. For the attack ratings, I'll just name this range ATT, press enter. And I'll do the same thing for the defense ratings, but name it DEF again in this top left-hand box. The next step in our model, lads, is to calculate the expected goals for each matchup in the league. For example, if Manchester United were to play Chelsea, how many goals are United and Chelsea expected to score against each other in this match? So to do this, create a new worksheet, and in the top left-hand corner over here, I'm going to merge and center some cells and then copy and paste the merged cells below again, and here I'm going to just type in the headers home and away. So on top in this first cell, after I format them, home colon, let's do that now, home colon, and then below that in cell A3, away column. Great. Next to these cells I want to create a drop down list so that I can choose the home team and an away team in a hypothetical matchup. So I'm going to merge and center these cells to the right, and very quickly I'm going to format them so that they look nice and neat and readable. You can put a border in between them. And so now I want to make a drop down list for each cell. To do this, you need to select or highlight both cells, go into the data tab up here, and then over to the right there's this little icon that reads data validation. You're going to click on that, and then a pop-up window looking exactly like this will appear. We want to create a list, so under allow I'm going to select list from the drop down. For our source, that's just going to be equals teams, because we want to be able to choose a team from our list of teams which we named 30 seconds ago. After you've pressed OK, when you want to select a single cell, there'll be a drop down button in the top right hand corner of the cell, and then from here you can select the home team. I'll select Manchester United, and I'm going to format these cells a bit better. And for the away team, I'll select Tottenham. Now lads, I'm going to merge and center these cells to the right again, and within these cells will be our formula to calculate the expected goals for the home and away teams. Our basic formula for the home team's expected goals will be the home team's attack rating multiplied by the away team's defense rating multiplied by the league average goals per game. To do this, lads, I'm going to use an XLOOKUP function. So if you don't have access to this function in your Excel package, you'll have to use the VLOOKUP equivalent. So lads, this is the formula for the home team equals XLOOKUP open bracket. Our lookup value is the home team C1, comma, our lookup array, we're finding our home team in our list of teams. Return array, we want to return the home team's attack rating, so comma ATT. Now we want to multiply this by the away team's defense rating. So XLOOKUP, we want to look up the away team, in this case Tottenham in C3. We want to look them up in teams and return their defensive rating, so DEF. Close that bracket, we want to multiply by the league average goals per game, so multiply average, and that's because we named all our ranges about a couple minutes ago. So as I format these and round the expected goals to 2 decimal places, you can see according to our model, Manchester United is expected to score 1.68 goals against Tottenham. Let's do the same thing for the away team now. Equals XLOOKUP. We want to look up the away team. We want to look up the away team's attack rating, so comma teams, comma ATT for their attack rating, multiplied by the home team's defense rating. We're looking up C1 in our list of teams, and we're returning their DEF defensive rating, multiplied by average, which is of course the league average goals per game, and we can see Manchester United are slightly favoured in this matchup. If we change around the teams using our drop-down list, then the expected goals will obviously change according to the relative strength between the teams. A better team will have a higher expected goals than a worse team. Our next step, lads, is to find the probability of each team winning according to these expected goal values. And to do this, we're going to use something called the Poisson Distribution. So I'm going to create a banner underneath our expected goals here titled Poisson Distribution. And then we can format this banner by merging, centering these cells, typing in Poisson Distribution. And then underneath this banner, I'm going to write the header goals in column A. And then I'm going to list the numbers 0 through to 10, representing 0 goals all the way through to 10 goals in a single match. Now I want to get a column header in column B, or cell B9, that'll read the home team goals. So Manchester City, whatever the home team is, and goals. So the formula for that is equals C1 and symbol, shift 7, speech mark, space, goals, speech mark. Press enter, and you should end up with Manchester City goals for this Manchester City-Everton matchup. So I'm going to do the same thing for the away team now. So I want to get the away team. So the away team's Everton here. I want to get Everton space goals. That's going to be equals C3 and speech mark space goals. Speech mark, press enter, and now we've got Manchester City goals and Everton goals as column headers in B and C. Now lads, in the home teams column, we want to find the probability that Manchester City will score 0, 1, 2, all the way through to 10 goals in a match against the away team selected, which is Everton. To do this, we use a function called the Poisson Distribution, which we're going to use right now to find City's probability of scoring 0 goals in this match. So equals Poisson.dist. That's Poisson Distribution, open bracket X. Now that's just going to be the amount of goals we're testing City's probability of scoring, comma, mean. The mean is Manchester City or the home team's expected goals in I1, comma, and the cumulative, just type in false in capital letters. We're not done yet though. I want you to absolute reference the I1, because when we drag down to find Manchester City's probability of scoring every goal from 0 through to 10, we want that expected goals to stay fixed. So when we autofill this, change it to a percentage to 2 decimal points, we can see City's percentage chance of scoring every goal from 0 through to 10. 0 goals have a probability of 5%, 1 goal 16.24%, all the way through to 10 goals, which is unlikely at 0.06%. The most likely amount of goals City will score is 2 at 23.33. Now it's time to do the same thing for the away team. So Poisson.dist, that's a Poisson distribution function. X, we want to find the probability Everton scores 0 goals, comma, mean, that's Everton's expected goals in cell, that's going to be cell I3 for us, comma, then our cumulative will be false again. Make sure to absolute reference the I3, that shortcut's Command T on Mac, press enter, and then we can drag this down, and we can see Everton's expected goal probabilities very different to Manchester City's due to the different expected goals between the two teams. Everton have a much higher chance, 57% chance of scoring 1 goal, and then as they score more and more goals, that becomes more and more unlikely. Now we can do a little test to see if we've entered the formula in right. The sum of the 0 through to 10 goals should be 100%, and that's right for Everton, but you'll notice for Manchester City, it's 99.98%. That's nothing to worry about. That's simply because we haven't accounted for goals above 10. So if we type in 11 and 12, that'll update the formula, and we can see the rest of that 0.02% is accounted for. The next step, lads, is to come over to column E and type in the formula equals home team and speech mark space win percentage, and then we're going to close that speech mark. And as you could probably guess, under this column we're going to find Manchester City's probability of winning at every goal scored. Let's do the same thing for column F. We're going to put equals the away team at C3 and speech mark space win space mark percentage speech mark enter. Adjust the column size or width for that. And now we've got Everton and Manchester City's win percentage. So we're going to do Manchester City first, and what's going to happen is we're going to find the probability Manchester City will win scoring 1 goal, 2 goals, 3 goals, all the way through to 10 goals. Obviously they can't win scoring 0 goals, so we're going to start with 1. And the formula is going to be equals B11, so City's probability of scoring 1 goal, multiplied by the sum of Everton's C10 to C10. And we're going to absolute reference the first C10 here. So absolute reference that by putting a $ in front of the row and column. And for the scenario of Manchester City winning with 1 goal, that's going to be equal to about 9.33%. I'll change this to a percentage sign with 2 decimal places. And as we drag that down, because we absolute reference that first C10, that C10 will stay constant, and then the second C10 in our sum formula will adjust so that the probability of City winning scoring 4 goals is B14 multiplied by the sum of C10 to C13, which is the sum of Everton scoring 0, 1, 2, and 3 goals, because Man City can win 4-3, 4-2, 4-1, or 4-0. Let's do the same thing for Everton's win percentage now, starting with 1 goal, of course, equals C11 multiplied by the sum of B10 to B10, and we're going to absolute reference the first B10 here by putting a $ in front of the row and column as always. Press enter. And Everton have a 1.8% chance of winning if they score one singular goal in a match. And the highest probability of Everton winning actually involves them scoring 2 goals instead of 1. So that's something interesting you can take away from the formula. And lads, the final step of this Poisson distribution method is to find the probability of the home team winning, the away team winning, and lastly, the probability of a draw. We're going to calculate these probabilities up in the merged cells we have created here to the right of the expected goals. And it's really simple to find the home team's probability of winning the match, lads. All you have to do is sum the win percentages we just calculated in column E. So it's going to be equals sum E11 to E20. Close the bracket. Press enter, and after I format this real quick for you lads, you can see Manchester City are the overwhelming favourites to win the match at 84.48%. It's the same process for the away team, just sum the probabilities in column F under away team or Everton win percentage, which is sum F11 to F20, and Everton have a 4% chance of winning this match. The probability of a draw is really intuitive. It's just 1 minus the sum of both teams' chances of winning. So I'm going to create a new merge cell to the right of the win percentage for the home team and the away team. And the formula to find the draw percentage is just 1 minus the sum of the 84 and 4%, or the home team win percent and the away team win percentage, and that's 10.89%. So when you highlight these cells, the sum should be equal to exactly 100%, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. And now using our drop-down list, we can actually change the teams to see different matchups and their effect on win probabilities. So if I go over to the home team, we can change it to Liverpool, and Liverpool have a decreased chance of winning versus Manchester City against Everton. Brentford have an even lower percent chance. And as we go further down the ladder, let's go Leeds United. The probabilities start evening up. So it's 40 to 33 now. And the weakest team in the league right now, Southampton, 29%. So Everton are favourites to win this match. And they have a higher expected goals too. Alright lads, now we're going to create a heat map of the correct score lines and their probability for each matchup. So lads, what we're going to do is go down to cell F22, where you're going to make that equal to the home team. So equals C1. Press enter and that should come up as Southampton. Great, and then starting from cell B23 and going acrossways, you're going to list the numbers 0 through to 10, which will represent the number of goals the home team scores. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've just typed that in manually. And now you can make that bold because that's sort of going to be a header. Going down from cell B24 downwards, we're going to type out the goals 0 to 10 again. But this time the goals will represent how many goals the away team scores. And to signify this, in cell A28, you're going to make that equals to the away team, or equals to C3. Great, make that bold, and you can format that to look a bit nicer if you want in the middle of the cell. And adjust the width. So in this grid, we want to calculate each and every scoreline's probability of occurring. To do this for the scoreline 0 to 0, we use the XLOOKUP function and multiply the home team's probability of scoring 0 goals by the away team's probability of scoring 0 goals. So you're going to do equals XLOOKUP, open bracket. Now our lookup value, that'll be 0 goals for the home team. So that'll be cell C23. Great, comma, our lookup array, we're going to be looking that up in our list of goals from A10 to A20, comma, and our return rate, we want to return Southampton's probability of scoring 0 through to 10 goals. So that's B10 to B20, and we're going to absolute reference A10 to A20 as well as B10 to B20. And you're going to only reference or absolute reference the row 23, so a $ in front of the 23 rather than the C. And then when we round this, we'll change this to percentage form and round this to 2 decimal places, we can see Southampton have a 39.01% chance of scoring 0 goals. Now, of course, we have to multiply this by Everton's chance of scoring 0 goals, which is 31.82%. So we do this by just multiplying this XLOOKUP function by another XLOOKUP function. This time our lookup value is cell B24. This time absolute reference just the column, not the row, because we're going downwards with Everton's goals. So $ B24. Our lookup array, absolute reference A10, A20. And then we're returning C10 to C20, absolute reference, which is Everton's win probabilities. And we can see a nil or draw in a Southampton versus Everton game has a 12% chance of happening. Now we can drag that formula down and across to see a matrix of win probabilities for every single scoreline. This whole sum should be equal to or very close to 100%, as you can see at the bottom there. But next though, I'm going to make this table more visually appealing so that it's easier to tell. For example, in this game, the most likely scorelines involve a lower amount of goals. And to do this, I have to highlight the whole table like this. Click the drop-down list on conditional formatting over here. Select color scales, and I'm just going to click on this first option that highlights the most likely scorelines in green and the least likely scorelines in red, like so. Now you can see the most likely scoreline is a 1-0 Everton win with a 14.2% chance of happening, and the most unlikely is a 10-10 draw, which has to 2 decimal places 0%. Now I'm going to make the model a bit tidier, so I'm going to swap the locations of the heat map and the calculations by highlighting the entire range and just dragging and dropping. Don't worry, it won't change any formulas or values. And now lads, our basic Poisson Excel model is finished. So I'm going to change the home team from Southampton to a stronger team in Tottenham, and you can see its effect on the heat map. These score lines I've highlighted over here are greener and favour the home team more. And that's the same again when I change it to the strongest current team in the league, which is of course Man City. We can see that the most likely scoreline is a 2-0, 3-0 win. Again, lads, if you're interested in reaching out to me about some one-on-one Excel sports modeling lessons, you can get in touch with me through my email, which is lads.excel@gmail.com, or you can DM me on Twitter at excel_lads.